Hey folks, it's Ray, DCARainmaker.com here. Hopefully you're doing good. Hopefully you're not locked inside. But if you are, I've got a new feature that Strava has just dropped that should keep you busy for a while. So when you eventually do go outside, you know where you're going. That's the theory anyways. Like, there's no good time to drop new features. It'll be easy to make fun of this feature because it's kind of ill-timed in terms of being out there, but they've been working on it for a long time, and so eventually you just gotta let things go and then move on to some of the new features. Now, Strava said the initial idea for this feature was more based around travel. So if you went somewhere, you wanted to find like what's a great 5-mile, 10-mile running route, whatever the case may be, it would be able to generate that on the fly, and you'd have a viable kind of local-esque sort of route, something that someone nearby would choose for you. But it works just fine for anything. You can put routes up to 100 miles in there for riding, for example. So you've got lots of flexibility. I'm going to walk through how it all works here. Before I do that, note one important thing. It is premium only or summit only. So you do have to have a paid summit membership to Strava in order for this functionality to work. So what you do is go ahead and just tap the Explore button right there, and then you'll see a new Explore Routes feature right there. And what it's going to do is I'm going to take my location right now, and it's going to generate 3 routes that are 15 miles long. So let's go ahead and first talk about those parameters, and then we'll talk about the routes and talk about whether or not the routes is generating suck or not. So the very first one is the current location. By default, every time you open up the app, it's going to use your blue dot, in the case of iOS, your current location, and then generate the routes from that point in time. But I could put anything in there, in any city in the world, any street in the world, or I can also just go ahead and hold down a dot. So I can just simply say, hey, I want to do it from over there, and I just create a dot right there, and then boom, it goes ahead and it creates the routes from that point. So it's pretty cool. The idea there being that maybe you didn't really want to start from your hotel, but you want to start a couple blocks away at the water or whatever the case may be, you can do that. That functionality is also useful if maybe you're perhaps meeting friends midway. So you want to say, hey, meet here, and then create some routes from there. So in any case, once you got that done, the next option is ride or run. Pretty straightforward. And then from there, you've got the distance. And now the distance, you've got different categories. I'm going to show it here in statute, so in miles, but you've also have it in kilometers as well. So you can see there, 1 mile, 5 mile, 10 mile, 15, 20, 30, all the way up to 100 miles. And then for running, if I go and look at those, you get 1 all the way up to 30 miles. So it figures if you're after 30 miles, you're on your own. You gotta do your own thing. So I'm gonna go back to cycling over here real quick though. Then you've got this any elevation option. This allows you to choose either a flat course or a hilly course. Here in the Netherlands, where I am, it's all flat courses. So you've only got one choice that matters to me. In my case, I just choose any because it doesn't matter. So that's kind of like a give me what you got sort of thing. The next one is similar to that. You've got any surface. And so there here is paved or dirt or any as well. And again, here there's a lot of on-road bike paths, very little off-road bike paths near me. So in my case, it doesn't really matter too much to change this. Now, as for running, there actually are more non-paved surfaces around me. So when I did that for running, I got a number of selections that were actually pretty decent for running that were not on actual paved paths. So that's kind of neat. Now, let's go back to those routes and let's kind of talk to that a bit more here. So I'm going to go back. I've got here these 15-mile routes that it just spun up right there. And you can see down the bottom, I got 3 routes every single time I run the app. And you will get different results if you just slightly change the location of your starting point. It's kind of cool in that sense. You can see this one right here that goes roughly around the airport. And I've got the next one down below here that goes kind of like through some western neighborhoods and whatnot, and then it just loops back again. And I've got this other one here that just sort of creates a bit of a more rounded loop. Now I'm gonna go ahead and choose this top one here because this is actually a pretty decent route in the grand scheme of things. And you can see details on this. And then what you do when you scroll down, you can see the elevation map. There's not much elevation change here, so it looks really big, but again, look at the scale. It's only negative 20 to positive 20 feet, not even meters, feet. And down the bottom here, you can see the surface type. So 96% paved, 0% dirt, and 4% unspecified. And in that case, it's like, send it. Hopefully it works out for you. At the bottom, though, is a give feedback option. So you can see different ways you can tell Strava whether this route is good or bad, which is kind of a nice touch there. And then if we go back here, there's a save option. And when I do save, what it does is it allows me to go ahead and name the route. So I can name this here, we'll call this, and then at that point, I can change the privacy from everyone to not everyone. By default, it's not. Now it's everyone. You'll notice so the star is already preset there. So that's favoriting that route automatically. And that's important because if you have something like a Wahoo head unit or some other head units out there, it'll automatically sync to your routes on that device. So just go and leave that there unless you have a particular reason where you don't want that saved. And then we'll click save. And then now here, you said you want to open the route up. And I can click yep. And then now at this point, I can use the route and route on that within Strava, the app itself, or I can go ahead from there and use it on a different device somewhere else. Okay, so that's the gist of it. Super simple, really straightforward, not too complex there. And of course, these routes are saved to your online account, so you could export out the TCX or GPX files, whatever they are, if you had to as well for some other reason. Now I'm going to go back though here, and I want to kind of talk about, are these routes any good? And this is where I'm curious. I want to see in the comment section, you try this out and let me know, are the routes it gives you any good or not? Like in my mind, the goal here should be to give you local level quality routing suggestions. So if I was to ask a friend in some random city I went to, they should be like, yeah, this is a solid route. You do that route. Oh, hey, and if you are finding this video useful or interesting, go ahead and like that like button right now. It really helps with the video and the channel quite a bit. So we're going to go back to this here. I'm going to give it a 40-mile route to work with. So I'm going to say I want to go down here. I want 40 miles from, we'll go ahead and just say my current location for the fun of it. So it's got tons of opportunity here, and let's just see what it comes back with. Okay, so it's got 3 routes here. You can see all 3 of these, 1, 2, and 3. So this first route that I gave here, it's going to go ahead and jet out along the path and then straight down past the airport, all the way down this road right there. I think it's actually a little bike path next to the road, if I remember correctly from riding that a few times. So we'll go ahead and look at the satellite view. By the way, you can turn that on and off. You can also toggle the global heat map on and off, which is cool as well. So you can see that I just turned that on. There we go. And you can see what that's doing there. And this is sort of where it lights up what's actually going on around you and why it's choosing those roads that it is. So we went on down right there and then turn back. I'll turn the global heat map off so you can see what's going on route-wise. Now, having done chunks of this particular route, never in this exact orientation before, I can say that that's a solid route. That's a route that any local would be more than happy to do. In fact, I rode the bottom half of this route just last week. This is a great route. Like, there's no question any local here in the Netherlands would be like, yep, that's solid. So look at this next one here. This next one basically kind of mirrors the bottom half of the first one that we did. And then it goes out this way along. Again, that's a beautiful route. Like, I've done this route, not this whole thing in this exact order, but I've done the right-hand side, I've done the left-hand side, I've done the bottom side. Like, this is very, very solid route. Anyone here would say that's a great cycling route. And look at the third one here, uses some of the same chunks. Again, very, very solid. The only complaint, if I were to give like one bit of complaint here, is this part that goes up the northern little piece, this right in the middle here. That's kind of messy. Like, there's no particular point to do that. It's a fast path. Like, I ride that path all the time. It's very, very efficient, but it'd be way more efficient to still be cut across the top of this lake right here where this other line is and then out. That's what almost every rider would do. They wouldn't dip further into the city just sort of for the fun of it. And I live around that area, so I know it super well. But for me, coming from where I am over to there, I would have cut across there. Still though, the rest of the route is totally legit. Very, very nice route. Zero complaints whatsoever. So let's look at running. Go ahead and tap that there. We're going to give it, I'm going to give it 10 miles to work with because I'm going to, just because I'm that kind of generous sort of person. First off, a 10-mile running route. Beautiful. That's a perfect running route. Zero complaints whatsoever on that. I've done this route. This is great. This is what anyone would say if you're going down south around the Boss, to simply do that route around the park. Beautiful route. So one there, good. Next, we got this one. No. I mean, it's the thing that you're going to discover here with these routes is that the pieces by themselves are usually very good. It's the whole of the picture where sometimes you're like, no, I wouldn't do it that way. Like, it doesn't make sense to combine all those parts together. It's like taking a piece of mango. You're like, yeah, mango's good. And then taking a piece of cucumber. Like, yeah, cucumber's good. And then taking a steak. I'm like, yeah, steak's good. And then putting it on a smoothie. You're like, no, that went wrong. So it's sort of the same thing here. Like, this portion right there, up to Vondelpark, up to Vondelpark and across, beautiful. This portion here, right about here is good. But once you cross the Amstel there, that by itself, there's nothing wrong with that area. It's just not a great way to run. Like, why would I go run around that to come back again? Or why would I dip in like this little like de-donk thing there and there? Like, no one would do that. They would honestly just stay in the Amstel because that part of the Amstel is a beautiful place to run. The marathon uses it, for example. And they would come back down here and they might go across somewhere over in Amstel Park and then back loop around. Like, I could have done some additional time down this area here at the bottom as opposed to coming back across there. This piece here, that's great. That's a beautiful running area. But this little chunk up here is where it sort of went wrong a bit. So for that. So in this last one it gave me right here, this is a good route. It's maybe not an easy route for someone to memorize, but again, I've run all the chunks of this route over time and ridden it, and this is a beautiful area to run. You'd have no problems with this, and it's a little bit off the beaten path, which is kind of nice actually. So for this one here, I would say that is solid. And now I've done this for a bunch of other cities and a bunch of other places, and you can in fact see my full post on it linked down below there. And I would say in general, the more duration or distance that you give it, the better the route choices come back. If you give it like just a 3 or 5 mile route running, not so hot. The same with cycling. If I gave it just like a 15-mile route, for me living on the edge of a city, it's a bit tougher to get really good routes for it to figure out really good routes. But still, I'm impressed. Like overall, these are impressive routes that it's coming back with. They're creative, they're different. This route here isn't something that you're probably going to find like on a running routes of Amsterdam, but it is a beautiful route. It's a really, really nice route that would be entertaining and interesting. And there's cows there, there's windmills, there's all the things on that route that you could possibly want. Big flower fields, and you wouldn't think it's that close here. So overall, I'd say I'm impressed with this. I think they've nailed this. Now, again, some people will be upset because it's Summit or Premium only. As I've said in the past, Strava has to have reasons why people want to pay for Summit, otherwise they will go out of business. It's as simple as that. Like any business has to have people buy into their business or they will go out of business. And so I think it's good that they are offering features that are premium only while also offering features that are free. Okay, so there you go. I am super curious to hear from you when you give it a shot here, whether or not it works or not. So go and download the update real quick and then let me know, one, were you trying riding or running routes? Two, what was the distance, duration, roughly where are you in the world? And what was like the routes? When you look at them, you go, yep, 2 out of 3 were solid, 1 was or like all of them are bust or all of them are awesome. Are there some routes that you're like, yes, I'm gonna favorite that and save that for when I can go outside? I'd love to hear. When I was researching this whole thing over the last week or so and playing with it, there's definitely routes that I clicked on that I'm like, yep, I'm saving that for later because that is a sweet looking route that I had not considered before. And I think probably like you, I find myself doing the same routes over and over again. So even here where I'm local, just to be able to find some totally different route that I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'd do that. Okay, so hopefully you found this interesting and useful. If so, go ahead and whack that like button at the bottom there or hit the subscribe button for more sports technology goodness on the way. Have a good one.